summer of 2011. I lived with a couple friends, and we were getting ready for the normal night routine, which was drugs, partying, and girls. My buddy takes me to the side and says, "Hey Scotty, you want to get really high?" I said, "Well, heck yeah, I want to get really high." A few minutes later, I lie there on the floor, lifeless, from a heroin overdose. Hi, I'm Scott Mitchell, and I'm a recovering heroin and opiate addict, and this is my story. I was born in Lebanon and raised out in the country. I have a brother and a sister, and I'm the oldest. I had a good life growing up. Our parents took care of us, loved us, taught us right from wrong, and did whatever they had to give us a good life. The first time I ever drank was when I was about 13. I was over at a friend's house for the weekend, and he stole some alcohol from his parents. We tried it out. That same weekend, I smoked cigarettes, smoked pot, and we stole some candy from the gas station. I can remember that weekend, or coming back home from a bike ride, and there being a cop sitting in the driveway. He took us to the police station and brought us all in, separated us, questioned us, and I thought for sure I was going to prison for the rest of my life. I can remember that little voice. Whenever we were stealing candy, I can remember that little voice in the back of my head saying, "We shouldn't be doing this," but I wanted to fit in and look cool. As time went on, my bad tendencies just grew worse. My parents divorced when I was at a young age, so by the time I reached high school, I was running wild and really had no one to answer to. My mom tried her best to keep me in line, but I felt like I didn't have to listen to anyone. I was going to do whatever I wanted to, no matter what. Throughout my high school years, I partied here and there, but didn't really get too crazy. I graduated, got a job, and was moving on with life. A couple years later, I bought a house in Lebanon. At this point in life, I was drinking and smoking pot a lot. My grandpa got me set up with a job and had me pretty much set up for life. Got me a good job, and I was just pretty much set up. At this point, I bought a house in London, and this house became like pretty much a party house, because I was partying all the time. I started to experiment more on drugs, mainly Xanax. Ended up getting prescribed and was in love. It didn't take long for word to get around about me. I had a huge party one night and it got busted. I got arrested, begged my mom to come bail me out. But when I got out, I went right back to partying the next night. I ended up getting arrested 2 more times while out on bond. I didn't want to stop. I was loving this life of partying. Eventually, lost my house, lost my truck, and my job because I was focused more on partying and less on paying bills. So even though I love this life, I decided to slow down and try to get my life back on track. Things started to go good for a little while. I was back to work, making really good money, and things were moving forward for me again. I had slowed down on the drugs almost completely, but was still drinking regularly. Since things were going good, and I was finally out of probation from the previous charges, I decided to give drugs a try again. I got introduced to cocaine, and again was in love. I was slowly spiraling downhill, but didn't care because I was having too much fun. My drinking and drug use was out of control again. I was making good money and blowing all of it on partying. I had a horrible wreck one night, and you can kind of see the pictures over there. By that picture, you would think that there's no way that anybody made it out alive from the wreck. And as a matter of fact, hospital that night. She came in and the blanket was over my face. It was covered in blood. And whenever she got there, she thought for sure I was dead. She grabbed the blanket back. She grabbed the blanket, pulled it back, and I looked up at her and said, "Turn off the lights." And she went to the courtyard where my truck was to get all my stuff out of the truck. And one of the guys there knew me, and he was apologizing to her, saying how such a good guy I was. And she said, "Well, what do you mean, was?" And the guy said, "Well, by the looks of his truck, there's no way he made it out alive." And she told him that I did. I walked away that night with minor scratches. The result of this led to my first DUI. As time went by, I was up and down. I would stay clean for a while, or just long enough to pass a drug test for probation. And then I would have my moments of hitting it hard. I started having back problems, ended up having back surgery, and that helped. But later on down the road, after surgery, hurt my back again, but got prescribed painkillers. Being an addict, I took full advantage of this. I was now hooked on pills. I love oxys, the feeling you get from it. I was thinking, why didn't I start taking these many years ago? I was hooked on pills for about 2 years before I discovered heroin. As I said in the beginning, I was at the house, getting ready for the night, and a buddy shot me with dope. I fell out. He tried to bring me back, but couldn't. He called 2 other friends, and they came to try to save me, but they couldn't bring me back either. They called the ambulance, they took my wallet, took my phone, took everything that I had in my pockets, and they left me there, right on the floor, in the middle of the room. It was about 45 minutes from the time that I fell out to the time that the ambulance came to save me. Once I got back, once my mom came to see me at the hospital, they told her that most likely I wouldn't recover, and if I did, I would have brain damage. They were a little bit right on the brain damage. So that made me I decided that heroin was not a drug I wanted to mess with, but pills were still okay. I got a job with a farmer, and things were going pretty smooth. I was out with a buddy one night. He said he was too drunk to drive, so I drove us back home. I got pulled over and got arrested again. This was my second OWI. I decided it was time to quit drinking, but I kept taking the pills. I hurt my back again at work and decided to quit my job. I can remember this time of my life was really hard for me. I was in a deep, dark hole that I couldn't climb out of. All I wanted to do was sit around the house and eat pills all day. And if I needed money, I would go to work for my grandpa and my brother for a few days, so I would have the money to buy my script. After a while, I got tired of this life and decided to get back at it. I got a job. With a good company, and this job transferred me down to Georgia. I stayed in Georgia for about 4 months, and another transfer came down to Savannah, Georgia. I stayed down there for 2 months, but after being there for about 2 weeks, there was me and one other mechanic there, and I knew that there was something not quite right with this guy. Eventually, I found out that he was making meth out of the back of his truck. So I decided that that was definitely a place that I didn't want to be. I came back home and went back to work for another farmer. Me and this farmer really didn't get along too good, and after a while, I helped him through harvest and decided to quit. Around this time, a buddy that I didn't talk to very much, he started to come around, and he was telling me about heroin again. Except for this time, it was in powder form. So I thought, this will be alright. It's not as bad as shooting up, and maybe I won't overdose off of it. So it started out as just a weekend thing, doing a little bit here and there, pretty much partying the weekends away. And then it became a 2 or 3 day thing and the weekend. And then eventually it became an everyday thing. This also, once it became an everyday thing, it also led me starting shooting it up again. I was pretty much doing whatever I had to do to get high. I was stealing from my parents. My dad had a big thing of change in his room, and I would steal out of that. We would go down to Indianapolis and stop at the gas stations and try to panhandle the money. We would just pretty much do anything imaginable. I can remember one night, it was supposed to be the family Christmas party, and instead of going to the family Christmas, I went down to the city. I can remember I was pretty excited because this was the first time I got to be able to meet the dope man without having to have somebody else with me. I got to meet him firsthand. I got down there, met up with him, got my stuff, shot up, got ready to go home. I woke up just down the road here on 65, and I was in the southbound lane going down 65, sitting inside the meeting. I was on my way back from Indianapolis, but whenever I woke up, I was headed back towards Indianapolis, and I had no idea what was going on. I tried to get out of my truck, and I looked, the door wouldn't open, so I jumped out the passenger side, and my truck was totaled. And I'm just standing there looking at my truck on the side of the road thinking, what in the world just happened? Once I met up with the dope man and did my shop, and it was headed back to Lebanon, I don't remember anything about that drive. Somehow, miraculously, I didn't kill somebody or myself that night. When I jumped back in the truck, I knew that I wasn't going anywhere, and that most likely I was getting ready to go to jail. I looked down and seen the rest of my drugs sitting there, and thought, well, I know I'm going to jail, so I might as well get getting high before I go. Eventually the cops came, took me to jail, took me to the hospital to get a blood test, and then took me to jail. This would be my third OWI. After this one, I didn't get out. I didn't get bonded out. I did 7 months in county and 3 months at Wabash Valley prison. Going to prison is the absolutely scary thing I've ever encountered. And being locked up for 10 months total was absolutely horrible. Missing out on holidays, on birthdays. My little brother got married, and I missed out on that. I also turned 30 when I was in jail. Turning 30 was bad enough, missing my brother's wedding was the biggest thing that got to me. That I'm pretty sure that day I didn't come out of myself at all. What keeps me sober today is right after I got out of prison, I was doing good. My family had trust back in me, and things were going pretty good. I went back to work for my grandpa and my brother, and I was finally on the right track. That same old using buddy called me up one night, and he knew he had heard that I got back out. He asked me if I wanted to get high, and a part of me really did. So I ended up getting high again after being locked up for 10 months. I got high all night. I went to work the next morning. My brother knew that something was up. I told him that I was just sick and that I couldn't work today, and he took me back home. And once I got home, I told my mom as I was walking up the stairs, I said, "Don't come upstairs, I'm sick, I don't want to get you sick." I walked upstairs, and a couple minutes later, my mom heard a loud bang. I finished doing the dope that I had from the night before, and I overdosed again. Whenever she walked up the stairs, she said, and walked into my room, she said that she heard me take my last breath. She gave me CPR and called the ambulance, and they came, and she said they had to shoot me with about 3 things of Narcan to bring me back. And I don't remember if I said it or not, but the first time I overdosed, from what I've been told, they had to shoot me with about 6 things of Narcan to bring me back. After this overdose, I can remember just feeling so let down, because I knew I'd let everybody down. Everybody thought that I was on the right track, and again, here I go again. Doing drugs again. I can remember just feeling horrible for this. After that moment though, there was like a light bulb that finally clicked and I said, no more. I will never do this drug again. And ever since then, I've been clean sober. What keeps me sober today is just keeping my mind going, staying busy. I work constantly. I don't ever stop. I just keep going. And always keeping that overdose in the back of my head. There's a reason that God kept me alive through all 3 of these tragedies. And I believe it's for moments just like this here today, sharing my story. Thanks for listening to my story.